Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate that you show up. We hope that we teach you something today. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. Please don't talk to me for 20 minutes about who you are. Just say who you are, the name of your company, the business model that you have, where you're located, and how many years of business. Let's see if they can do it, folks. Go ahead. Jeannie, take it away.
Okay, Jeanne Chung with Cozy Style Chic. I'm in Pasadena, California. And I am an interior designer, and I also own a retail and to the trade showroom.
Nice. How many years of business?
Oh, I've been in business for 12 and a half years.
Good job. All right, Paula.
Paula Kennedy, certified master kitchen and bath designer in Seattle, Washington. I've been an NKBA member and doing kitchen and bath specifically for 27 years. And I'm here because I'm beginning to branch out into furnishings, which we'll learn more about later.
Very exciting. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Katye Bennett. I'm CEO of KMB Communications. I'm also a podcast host for Connecting Tech and Design. Been in agency for about 14 years. We're based in Montana, but we serve brands and associations all around the U.S. and globally as well. That's my thing is technology, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Nice. John?
John McClain, interior designer for 15 years. My firm is John McClain Design. I'm the CEO there. And then I'm also a business coach and advisor for interior designers at my podcast called The McClain Method. Nice. There you go.
And you wrote a book.
And wrote a book called The Designer Within. Go buy it. You'll love it. I promise you.
It's a great book.
Thank you. I think so.
Okay, so this is your profit toolbox, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask each of these extremely intelligent, wonderful rock stars to share one thing in their toolbox that they do that drives some profitability for them. Okay, it could drive efficiency because efficiency drives profitability, and then we'll talk it and pick it apart and do the things. And understand that each of these people run well-designed businesses and they have multiple tools in their profit toolbox. But I've asked them each to pick one so that we can have a frame for the conversation. All right, yours is something I think I'm going to leave you for last.
Okay.
All right, we're all going to go in the same order.
Mom, is that you? I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, Jeanne, tell us one of the profit tools that you wanted to share with everybody today.
So for me, it's the integration of technology into our workflow. So it goes from, going into the project, measuring and modeling, and it's about working smarter, not harder. And what am I best at? It's creativity. So I want to spend my money doing the creative part. So what we do is we go in, we scan our spaces using a LiDAR scanner on our phone, and we take that scan and we upload it. And we spend 24 cents per square foot, and it gets put into a model in 2 to 5 business days, and everything is we work in SketchUp. So it's put into all the tags, the floors, the windows, walls, and everything. So I get to spend my time doing what I do best, which is straight into design. And it eliminates the client spending money on things that they don't really value, the grunt work. They get to spend money on our vision and on the actual design. So we take that and we put together our SketchUp models. We're using AI as well. We try to use manufacturers that have those 3D models that we can stick straight into our 3D models. Our space models. But there's some great tools out there if a company doesn't have those models. We use a company called ArcSynth, where we can take a picture, better yet, picture snapshot off the website, and put that into there, and it will create a 3D model. It's a paid, I don't remember what it is. It's not very expensive though. Okay. And so we've got the actual furniture pieces. We can put the wallpaper in there, everything. So we create a finished space, And then we go one step further, and we're using VR. So our clients come over, they put on the VR headset, and they are in their space. They can look around and see what their space is going to look like before they even pull the trigger. So that has made our workflow, our process a lot faster. When they can see it in color, they can see the scale, proportion. They're like, done, let's go for it, let's buy it. So there's no hemming and hawing, everything's visual. Our clients are visual.
So what you were saying, if I'm going to turn it around back to you, what you're saying is there might be an education curve on connecting these technologies so that you can do this, but in your experience, what you have found is once you have got this thing completely rendered and somebody walks through with the VR headset, you are just getting yes, 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 yes. And if it's a no, it's not a no like, I'm not sure if it feels right. It's like, I just don't like that. I see it and I don't like it. And so this is creating easier, like shorter selling periods is what I'm hearing. I'm
Definitely.
like less hemming and hawing, and I'm more to writing checks.
Yep. Because they have all the finishes in front of them. They see the space. VR isn't totally perfect right now, but they get a pretty good idea, especially if they have those finishes in front of them. Right. So we can eliminate that grunt work on the front end, get to our do the creative stuff, the stuff that we're good at, and then make that sale, move on to the next thing.
Okay, and that's a good thing that you're talking about. Like, we're not relying on the VR to be, it's exactly this shade of brass. You've got the actual samples, no different than anybody else that has part of this presentation, but we're like stepping into the room and seeing it.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Okay, very cool. All right, so we'll pick it apart. If you have questions, write them down. Paula, what's the tool in your profit toolbox?
So as you heard, I've spent 27 years in kitchen and bath, very hyper-focused. I've attended KBiz for 27 years, very hyper-focused, right? And that's my superpower. I'm good at what I do with that. I lost a very big, valuable job about 3 years ago because they were also asking for furnishings. And I said, oh yeah, I can do that. Because I pretty much about had that job like it was mine, right? I was just expecting them like, okay, they're gonna sign the paperwork. And it was kind of a last minute thing that they brought up. It's a second home. They need furniture for it. I'm like, oh, sure, I can do that. But I didn't properly address it. And another interior designer won that project, which should have been mine. And they wanted one professional to work with to do the whole thing, right? About that time, Design Edge comes through Seattle. So I started getting introduced to the world of High Point. I had never been to High Point. And I just started, at this stage of my career, started wondering what else. So I'm doing my clients a disservice because I'm not helping them with the rest of the story. Where are they going? Hiring somebody else, going to Wayfair, doing nothing, grandma's stuff, whatever, right? I'm doing them a disservice, and also myself. There's the creative side, there's a whole other world that's kind of fun and juicy to layer on all the hard surfaces that I just did, and then also those profit margins, right? So I'm not saying that I'm jumping into whole home design yet. I'm gonna take baby steps. The spaces I'm already in. Those kitchen and bath, outdoor kitchens, the outdoor living kitchen and bath spaces, the island bar stools. I mean, and a lot of these seem like a no-brainer, so I'm, I've had fun with kitchen and bath for 27 years, right? It takes a lot of my brain power and I love it, right? So the bar stools, the window blinds, rugs, and even, it's a great room, right? So the furnishings. The kitchen banquette that I just designed and built in, the cushion, the pillows, like finish that story. So I feel like I'm going back to school and I'm learning about fabrics. I'm actively doing this right now. I just ordered my first Charleston Forge glass and metal table. It was just delivered. I had to learn about receivers. Like this, a whole new life. So, and the income really did increase this. Like I had the best year of my career this last year because of these add-on areas.
And so I got to believe that the aha moment comes when you lose a job that you thought was yours. But then it's not just a matter of next time at some point saying, you've now got to start the project by explaining, we're going to do the whole thing. And that was what you weren't doing before. You were just talking about the focus of the kitchen and bath and not constantly saying, and by the way, right? Okay. So it's like, you know, when you go to a restaurant and, you know, when they walk by with the dessert tray and you're only on salad, you're like, oh, okay, that's in my future, right? So you got to let them know all along it's coming up. I love that. Okay. Katie, what's your tool thing in the toolbox?
The thing in my toolbox. So there's almost two answers to that question. One, personally, professionally, AI tools. As a communicator who is providing narratives for brands and associations and integration firms, technology integration firms, one of the things that we're challenged by is how do we extract from those individuals that are key principal partners in the brands to identify what the message needs to be, what the brand standard is, but also then how do we position that more competitively within our community, utilizing the knowledge that we can gain about brands and their narratives, but without redefining a brand using somebody else's story. AI allows us to do that and pull in the different components of the conversation that we're trying to establish based on competitive brand messaging, but spin it in a space for an individual or a brand that is unique to their brand, utilizing the tools and the tricks of the narrative, but keeping the storyline very unique to the brand or the initiative, what we're trying to accomplish. If we were to do that through traditional means, it would take a team, myself, my writers, weeks to get this done. And what we're able to do now by defining agents and creating projects that are defined for each brand, we can pull that in and now we can spin a new narrative in a matter of seconds. Then we go and humanize it. And that's the thing is you have to humanize the output from AI so that it's actually digestible and it's accurate, which adds a little bit more time, but overall the product is so much better that we're finding that we're able to charge a higher price point for those narratives and that the narratives are actually hitting much harder and faster. That's amazing.
So I want to ask you a question. I said to you guys if you were here this morning, sometimes I ask ChatGPT something and then I go, okay, do it again like I'm in 9th grade. Do it again like I'm in 9th grade, Katie. Yeah. So are you saying that as a marketing brand agency, you used to research your clients and their competition and do all this analysis and then try and figure out how does their messaging come out so it's different from their competitors but unique to them? Okay, that's the 9th grade version, okay? Yeah. And so, all right, and now you're doing that with AI. Okay, and to the point. So my thing is you can do that with your own clients too. You can take, if you have an intake form and you've asked 16 questions on your intake form, you can, and then you have a conversation and you record it with Claude on your thing, and you have 2 or 3 emails going back and forth, you can take all of that data, put it into ChatGPT and say, analyze the personality that I'm dealing with here. Is this a driver? Is this an analytical? Is this a, whatever it is? And now you can start to say, well, how would I respond to this if I wanted to get them like right in the stomach and making feel like they might miss out on this opportunity if they don't take advantage of working with me right now. And again, you can't just like, okay, copy and paste that nonsense, right? Now you got to put your own human brain on it. But I'm saying that I do that with my bigger long-term clients. I don't tell them I do it with sponsors. Like, oh, there's my sponsor form intake. What kind of person am I dealing with here? Is this a technical, analytical engineer guy that's going to take 15 hours to decide? Or is he get me an answer, let's get it done? Okay? I don't leave it completely to AI. I do filter through the conversation that I had. What am I reading in the email? Right? Because that's like silly to do that. But I love that, Katie. I love that you're doing that. And you guys can take advantage of that as well. All right. You had another one.
Well, okay, so the other one is actually a tax on to what Paula was saying, which is there's an entire category of business that the design community in many cases is missing, and that's technology and integrated technology systems, what we sometimes call what you may know as smart home. It's more than the smart home, it's connected technology for the home. There's an entire category there that from an integration community, we need the design input. From the design community, we need an integrator's input to make sure that the technology for the home is supporting the needs of the home and its occupants, but also is not, I'm not going to say future-proof, but future-capable. So a family with young kids, over time, they're going to need more network power. They're going to need more connectivity. You may not necessarily need that when they're toddlers. An integrator can get involved in that and help you with that journey and make sure that the investment is made at the right time and including the right products, the right technologies, the right protection, security, all of those things. So I 5 or 6 years ago, I landed on this destination of the intersection of technology and design because it was very needed to have this conversation, but so many in the design community don't know where to go. So, that's the other thing is, if you still, and we'll talk about that, I'm going to give you some tools at the tail end of this so you will know where to go. But there's so much profit to be gained here and so much of an opportunity and advantage. I'm huge on differentiators. You want to differentiate yourself? Talk technology, because your clients are going to, and if you don't know and say, that's not me, what happened to Paula could happen to each of you, and I think that, that to me is a really sad story. So
it's so true. I mean, I stopped selling actively, for window work, so I'm going to say about 5 years ago. And Kim has had 2 babies in the last 5 years, so 2 times I've had to come out of her maternity leave and sell again, and it was not fun. And I can remember when motorization was coming in. 15 years ago, 18 years ago, and I would be like, just chit-chatting my way through it to get out of the appointment and then go back to my office and do the deep dive with Billy, my partner, and calling the different people like Abiola and the people like you that are very tech savvy. And it was my greatest pleasure to get out before I had to learn too much, I have to say. It is so brutal. But I think your point is well made, Katie. You don't have to know it, but you have to get an integrator that's on your team and not in your payroll, but somebody that you trust. And that, because what I was finding at the tail end of when I was doing it is that the AV guys were not our friends. They were not our friends. They were oh, you don't know how to make that connect to my house? It's well, so what? And I'm like, dude, right? Abiola, you remember, you're too young to know that. You always were a good guy, right? But literally very territorial, very dismissive, very protective. But the thing is, for you as designers, if you come in and you're my window treatment person, you're my smart home thing, you're my AV guy, and I run this show. And even if your integrator is, you know what I'm saying? I love that, Katie, because otherwise you are gonna, if you're not leading the project, somebody else is going to. And the person leading the project is usually the one making the dollar bills, just saying. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I would say, I would say not just one integrator. There are different integrators that will specialize in different aspects or size, scale, and scope. So I always recommend have several in your arsenal and pull them in according to their specialties and what you need to accomplish.
And one should know another, probably, right?
They do.
Do they
but
play
it's
in the sandbox together?
They do, but it's not likely that they're going to refer each other unless they do have a really strong working relationship or there's a territory division as well. So, you do see a lot of that. But, like everybody, we're going to be a little territorial about the things that we like to call ours. Is that just me?
Okay.
That's like the architect and the designer, right?
Okay. All right. And now, John, what's your tool in your profit toolbox?
I'm sorry to tell you all, but I turned 50 and my filter is gone. So I think that's actually good for all of you today. That I'm just going to say.
Okay.
It's even worse now. No, I'm going to start by saying the term design fee is dead. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to tell you why. When I was looking at my business years ago and working on my processes and figuring out what do we do from the beginning to the very, very end of the project, all these steps that were in there were being done, but they weren't documented, so we documented them. Also, some of them we weren't getting paid for, right? So we're doing all of these things at the installation. We're doing all the design work, what we all call design fee, but then we were rolling it all together under one name, right? So a couple of things happened with that. The clients were just thinking that this one fee covered anything and everything. They could call us whenever they wanted to. We would add on this child's bedroom. All these things were just part of the design fee, right? Because there were no barriers. So what I did, and it completely, honestly, revolutionized my company, the way that we operated. I took the, quote, design fee, and I broke it into 3 different parts. So I have my creative fee, You can write this down because I charge a lot of money for this in my program. So it's called creative fee. And I did that because we as designers, we come into this business for the creative part of it. We come into it because we love selecting beautiful products and we love choosing wall coverings and putting that all together for clients. And so many times, clients just look at us like the schlepper. You know, oh, you're going to go and do this, and you're going to facilitate that. I wanted to separate the fact that our creativity was worth paying for, and it was worth paying a lot of money for. So I created the creative fee that I have. Now, I also have what I call the project fulfillment fee. This will change your lives too. I don't call it project management, I call it project fulfillment, because I'm not managing the project. My job is to fulfill the design intent of the project. Okay, those two things alone changed everything, and then I added a production fee on top of that, and then the production fee covers anything to do with procurement and ordering products and things like that. But the cool part was, when I did this, and I started just charging the creative fee and then the project fulfillment fee, and then if they ordered products, it allowed me to look at some clients who never had any intention of having us fulfill the design plan. And because I asked those questions and I separated those into very distinct categories, it allowed me to say, okay, Mr. Client, I'll take you on and I'll do creative fee for you, and then we're done, right? There's nothing else, but I made a lot of money from that.
Go to the box store and figure it out.
Absolutely. And I tell this story too. I had a client once, and the creative fee was $75,000, something like that, just for creative fee, right? And we do the presentation, and then the client was like, you know what, we may sell this house. I'm not sure if we're going to do anything else with it. And I said, okay, you've paid your creative fee. We're done, right? So I made my money. They had paid in advance, and then we were able to just move on from that. But a client actually apologized to us not too long ago for the construction being behind, because they understood that all our job was to do was to fulfill the design that we had designed for them, not to manage Joe Schmo on the job site. So the client actually came to us and said, I'm so sorry, they haven't framed the bathroom out yet. I know you're ready to da-da-da-da. I'm like, it's okay. So like the client, so my psychology behind it really worked, because the clients now understand everything is in its category, and they understand also what the limitations are of that. So when we did it, clients were happy, we were happy, we made so much more money from doing it in this method, and I can never go back to just saying design fee, all-encompassing, everything's underneath that.
I'm not clear, and maybe you guys are, but I'm not clear on project fulfillment versus project management. Tell me the nuance in that.
Yeah, well, if you're a client and let's say you have a renovation, I give you the exact deliverables under project fulfillment. And it includes working with the general contractor on a conversational basis, answering questions, giving them everything that they need. But I'm not going to manage the day-to-day operations of the project. I'm not going to be responsible, even because a lot of times our clients think that as designers, we are responsible for the general contractor. I'm very explicit that we're not. That's a separate signed agreement, first of all. But on top of that, we have these set appointments. So let's say it's a renovation. We'll do a plumbing walkthrough, an electrical walkthrough, all of these things.
That will be included.
It's
in project
included in the fee, yes. And then I throw in 3 bonuses, 3 extra visits, because shit happens, right? And so I throw those in, and then we can pop over for those. But and it does include unlimited conversations with the general contractors. But like I've said before, how many times have we had to worry about a contractor calling us too much, right? They barely call us at all. So that's never been a problem for like over communication with the contractor. So the client's like, oh, you'll talk to them whenever they want. I'm like, yep, it'll be like once a month probably, and that's when I show up at their house, But it really has changed everything, and we've made so much more money since we've done it that way.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to put a boundary around it so that there's no gray areas.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys see how each of these things that they're doing has contributed to their bottom line, right? It's contributed to their top line revenue, but also the bottom line net profit of it. I'm curious, I could ask questions. Do you have questions on any of these people, their thing at this point? Go ahead.
Yes, because the specifying the furniture, she said, go under the creative fee. Yes, anything that you do for selecting drawing, anything that's under the design and development part of the plan is under the creative fee. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What is my
What is your what?
Oh, what is the collection schedule for the fee? So creative fee, they pay 50% when they sign the agreement. The other 50% is due 30 days later. The project fulfillment is due 30 days after that, which is typically when some of the work starts on the project, and then they pay that full in advance. So before we start anything, everything is paid completely in advance ahead of time.
Okay. Christopher? Do you have a deadline on the fulfillment
Absolutely,
fee?
absolutely, yes.
How do you determine
We
it?
determine it based on the type of project. So if it's a furnishings only project, we use our data that we've used from past projects, and then we follow that schedule. And I pad it a little bit, but let's say it's a new construction home, and then we know everything that we're going to be doing for that home. It might be an 18-month time frame for project fulfillment, but the difference is all the actual meetings are pre-planned, and we literally list them out in our agreement. We say da-da-da-da bullet points of everything that we're going to do for them, and then anything past that turns into an hourly fee for that point, hourly rate.
Has anybody here taken the University Design for Construction 201 class? Okay, because that's exactly what we teach in that class, is that cadence of the meetings, of when they happen, who they happen with, and these are the times I'll be on the job, and anything else is gravy and at my discretion.
Well, the thing is, we do the same things over and over. We just don't ever take the time to write it down. We know what we did on the Smith project, and we're going to have the Jones project, and it's going to be very similar. But did you write down what you did on the Smith project so that you can tell the Jones project what you're going to do on their project? Probably not, right? So that's what I did. It was very simple. It was just on a notepad that I did it. It wasn't like this revolutionary thing. I just sat down and wrote it down, and then I was like, no, we need to charge more for that and lay out the rules and the guidelines. Yeah.
Okay, so what we have here is John has put nice little bows around his deliverables so that he can make, fees that he can collect on a schedule, right? What we have with Paula and Katie is they are figuring out like add-on projects, like add-on services and add-on products is what I mean to say, right? Where you're leaving money on the table by not bringing them into it. And so one might be smart home integration, one might be window treatments. Like I meet a lot of interior designers. I mean, literally, how many times have you finished, a $1, $2, $3, $4 million home and you've done 80–90% of the furnishings, but you haven't done a single drape or a blind? And then, they're out of money at the end of the job, and they're like, oh, I'll do it later. And you ride by the house 6 months later, and there's all the drapes, because somebody like Awana or me did the drapes. You lost it, right? But we're fine if you get the job and we still do it. We're fine with that, right? So, but don't leave the money on the table. And then, Paula, you're learning the same thing. And so if you are doing design and decoration, but you haven't stepped into kitchen and bath, maybe that's something that you want to educate yourself on and cross it back the other way and start to go to KBIS and not leave that money on the table for somebody else, right?
Yeah, because all interior designers do kitchens and baths. We all just do it at a different level. So just like I'm leaving money on the table, furnishing interior designers are likely losing out on a lot of the profit margin in kitchen and bath as well.
Yeah. And then I love you. I love what you're doing, Jeanne. You just get to yes faster, right? Get to the contract faster, and the rest of it, then it's all the other things that these guys are doing. How hard is it? Like, I'm not a designer. I don't understand SketchUp. I don't know all of that. Is this like, do you imagine that most people in this audience, the way you describe the process of getting to the 3D thing all the way to VR, do you think that most people get that, how you did that, or does that feel a little bit above your heads a little? Little above your heads. Okay, so get us to it.
It's above my head, too.
Okay, so get us, like, how hard, is this like, I got to train my staff every day for a year and a half to figure this out, or is it just buckle down and do it every day for an hour and figure it out?
No, it's actually sitting down in front of a computer, and, I didn't know how to do it. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing all these tools out there. Let me, do some research. It was Googling things. It was asking ChatGPT, how do I do this? What's the most efficient way to do this? What are the products available that will help me achieve this? And it's just trying them. It's trial and error. Being curious and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah. And how about even like the VR glasses, like VR headset? Is that like $5 or $5,000?
I think, so I use MetaQuest, and I think it was maybe $399. Okay. And it wasn't a huge investment, until actually, I think September 16th, I was doing a whole free version, uploading our model, our SketchUp model through Trimble, and using SketchUp Viewer, and that was free. But I think that SketchUp realized, hey, they haven't perfected this. You can only upload a 100 megabyte file, which that meant peeling away all the important layers that we needed the client to see. And so they did away with that. They're not supporting it anymore, but I did some research and I looked into some other avenues and I've tested them out. And there are paid versions and I think they work pretty well. There is room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
So I know that we had a conversation, a pretty good, deep conversation yesterday with Charleston Forge,
Yes.
right? And you know what was important, and an aha that you had in that conversation over there with Dan and his team, was that you learned that they have. What do they have that you learned that they have, and you're like, oh my God, you should tell everybody you have that thing, and it was helpful for you.
Absolutely. A lot of the manufacturers have the models. They have the 3D models. If they are designing product, they are designing those products in 3D. I'm like, well, why don't you let the designers know that you've got these tools?
And Dan liked that idea. You could see his brain going.
And today I spoke to 2 other manufacturers, like, we have that. I'm like, well, why don't you let us designers know? Because us as designers, we're going to be more loyal to them, knowing that they have our back, they've done that work, they make us look good in front of our clients.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. Okay. What do I not know that I don't know about this topic? What do you guys need to know about these tools in their toolboxes? Repeat her question.
Okay, so Gunjan is asking if you, once you scan the space on the LiDAR scanner, so I use canvas.io, and that's a free app that
Is that different than Canva?
Yes, totally different than Canva. It's canvas.io, and it's free to download, and you scan it, and you only pay for when you upload your model, and I think it's 24 cents per square foot. Yeah.
It's great.
And you know, there is room for error, so those important measurements we measure by hand just to double check. But it is such a lifesaver when you've got an odd shapes in a room, you've got arches and weird beams. Who wants to measure all that and model it? I don't. So have AI do the work for you so you can do the fun stuff.
Well, and talk about a time saver too, because then that creates my as-built and it comes back into the program that I use. I use 2020 and it converts into 2020. So there's my as-built. I mean, that has just saved me so much time, and you know, half the time like trying to read my own notes when I get back to my office.
Oh yeah, and you know, I am the worst at flipping my numbers. So
I've never done that as a window treatment person. I've never done that. That doesn't happen.
Oh, I am bad.
Stoller walks in, he's like, where are we putting this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So go ahead. We have 2. Okay. Here we go.
If you guys scan and you have your as-built, would you charge client for this service? Because I recently had to do as-built that were $15,000.
See?
Repeat her question.
So she said that she has charged her client $15,000 for as-builts. She hired somebody else to do the job. So with 24 cents per square foot, you do the math. I'm not very good at math and numbers.
Wait, I'll do it for you.
And you're saving a hell of a lot of time, $15,000, and think, okay, I'm doing simple math, 1,000 square feet, it's $240. I just, give that over to the client. They pay for it. And then I tell them, you have saved $15,000 and you have that money to use on product, on our design vision.
Could you make a little more of that if you're? I mean,
You
I'm like,
could.
if I was gonna pay 15, I'll probably still pay 5,000 to be really happy.
I do charge more for that.
You charge for it?
We use it. I've used it since way back when you attached it to your
Oh,
iPad.
yeah, that- and that wasn't that accurate
Way
then,
back.
yeah.
No, it wasn't at all. But yeah, if I know that we're going to have to do as builds or any sort of measurements at all, I build it into my creative fee and kind of invoice it as a
Well,
part
I
of it.
do that too.
Well,
But
but
yeah,
but I don't
them-
just pass it along.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So there have been instances where I've been able to take on projects on the other side of the country. I had a
Yeah, me
client
too.
come in and she's like, hey, I've got an apartment in New York City, and hey, I'd really love for you to do it. She's actually coming in to purchase wallpaper, but she had an apartment in the city. So I said, hey, do you have somebody in the city with an iPhone? Yeah, okay, well, can they download this app? Can they scan it? Can they upload it? And then, so, they know the pricing there, and then we just go straight to design.
Well, but you could, okay, so, but you're gonna then put that into your creative fee,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, you're not, like, just because somebody can upload an app and download an image doesn't mean I know what the hell to do with that image, right? So you still have to charge for the next step,
Yes, yeah.
right?
And that's where we charge.
Yeah, got it.
I
Okay.
will say, you said measure. Yes, definitely. Like measure, find a room, check that room, like measure, and then when you get those measurements back, check that room to make sure that,
Right.
because we had one that was like 12 inches off at one point, and I was
Yeah.
like, you're right. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a big deal. Furnishings is not such a big deal, but if you're renovating a kitchen, it can be a horrible situation.
12 inches is a lot.
Yeah, that's what she
why
said.
those
That's what she said.
but those
I'm unfiltered.
those important measurements, you do have to
Yeah.
double check. And
Yeah.
then when the installer comes in, he triple checks.
Right.
You know.
Okay. And you had a question in the middle here.
That's a good point.
Repeat the name of the app that you're using for as-built and
So
Renderings.
Canvas.io is the app, and it only works with iPhone or an iPad. But even then, it's worth money to purchase an iPad just for that. Yeah, and you can upload that model into, you can do 2020,
2020.
SketchUp, Revit, Chief Architect, and ArchiCAD, and AutoCAD. And you can also, and they just started a new service, which is Plan to CAD. So you can hand them your, the full architectural plans, which we've done. We did with the 10,000 square foot home. And they took that and built the model. They built the basement, first floor, second floor, and they were able to identify areas where the measurements in plan didn't match up with the measurements in the elevations. And so they gave us a whole document where double check all this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, honestly, back in the day, we had to walk uphill both ways in the snow. I'm just saying, you guys have it so easy. I'm so sorry. The only way we were ever getting a measurement was walk into the damn place and measure it. Nobody checked it.
Times they are changing.
That's okay. We have more questions. Go ahead. How do you get the 3D objects that are not provided by a
So,
manufacturer?
Either you could go through, if I use SketchUp, so I can download those objects to this SketchUp warehouse. And if it is, something that, I go to the manufacturer's website. If they've got some clean images of the, let's say it's a sofa, I can take that and first, so with ArcSynth, which is what I use to turn those 2D images into 3D, So ArcSynth is not very good at making those models editable. So first, there's several steps. Say you take that into ChatGPT or Nano Banana or whatever. This is the image. Put on, drape this fabric over this and change the finish to this. It does that, and then that gets pulled into ArcSynth, which makes a 3D model. It's not very good at scale, but it's great at proportion. So I will have to take that and maybe stretch it to the correct size and then drop it into the model. And it's already has those finishes baked in.
Okay. All right. How about in the lane where Paula and Katye are, where you are leaving money on the table? Has this conversation sparked any idea about, hey, I didn't think about that. I'm not pitching that part of the project, or I'm not pitching those items. Anybody have any thoughts or questions there? Is your question in that lane? Go ahead. Okay, so we're going to ask you, but I'm going to just answer it first without, because it's a sales question. I'm going to tell you what, this is a basic sales question, right? So first you have to know what you're selling, right? So you've got to go do your work, find your integrator, do your homework on, is it AV, is it performative, what is that called? Performance housing, right? Is it with the lighting? Is it with the draperies? Like, you've got to get some homework done on this and get your source, okay? And then you are talking about it from day one. You are talking about it on your website. I am your person. I talk to all the people. I'm the middleman between all of you. You can ask me this. You can find out from me how to do this thing. I can lead you through this part of your house. And then in the real life, you're going to have your integrator, you're going to have your window treatment person, you're going to have your kitchen and bath designer who's going to yada, 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 right? But I'll tell you the story. There was a woman that came on the podcast, California designer, okay? She was listening to me a couple of years ago. I was doing an episode at the end of the year. It was like a November, December episode. And I was asking you guys at the end of the year to evaluate your projects, to evaluate your last year's projects and identify the different types of projects that you regularly do and the profit margin of each of the projects. Right? We were talking about it this morning. So if I do design and decoration projects, I do reno projects, I do designer for a day, I do sometimes just kitchen and bath, whatever your mix is, okay? I said, you need to know, do I make the most money on my renos? Do I make the most money on my design and decor projects? What revenue stream do I get the highest gross profit margin in, okay? And then you figure out if you're talking about that. Are you leading with that? Are you explaining that? So here was what happened. This designer, she says to me, she emails me the next day. She goes, I was at my desk at 1 a.m. listening to your podcast as I'm doing my work. And I opened up my QuickBooks, as you're saying, what kind of projects do I do? And she said, and I looked and I realized that I had done more than $1 million worth of gross revenue last year on custom new builds. But when I pulled out, just for information's sake, what was my gross revenue in window treatments, she said it was $50,000. Now, understand something. Like, one house is $50,000, right? One luxury home build, the window treatments are $50K. And so she sat there and she's like, who's selling all the drapes to these people? And that's when she realized that every single time when she went through the several projects, she was like, when I was getting to the end of the project, I was constantly hearing, Wait, after doing all of this, you want another $50,000 for blinds? You want another $100,000 to put drapes on those? And then you want to add another $50K to motorize it? I'm sorry, you've drained my checkbook, go away. But she knows you're dealing with $2, $3, $4 million homes. They're not having drapes. They're not having motorized shades. And so her aha moment was that she said she was not starting at the beginning. And the way she described it to me made so much sense. She said, I started to realize that it was actually irresponsible for me when I'm at the beginning of a project talking about what budget do they need, what investment level do they need. And she said, it would be as if I were having a conversation with a client who's about to build a home, that I know that home, that neighborhood, that lifestyle, that kitchen was a $400,000 kitchen, and I sprung it on them in the 10th month. Oh, and by the way, do you have $400 for a kitchen? Oh, I didn't know you wanted a kitchen. You didn't tell me. We didn't budget for it. So she said, not telling them up front, hey, put aside, we got to build in $150K for this $4 million, 10,000 square foot home for drapes and blinds and shades and window film and motorization. And she said, and when I started talking about it from the beginning, the next year, she did $750,000 in window treatment. $350,000 went to her pocket. Okay? So, that's the thing, right? It's a sales question. Sorry.
How do you follow that?
Right? It's sales, right?
It absolutely is. And what you'll hear from the integration community, as we call ourselves, early and often is the answer to that question. Bring a technology integrator into your projects early and bring them back often. Because as the projects change, things shift. Integrators need to know this just as much as every other trade on the project, and as much as the homeowner as well. Depending on how long a project takes from start to finish, you may see that demographics of the home shift dramatically, and therefore the technology needs, the technology backbone for the home needs to adapt to that. Think too about aging in place. Think too about the client that broke their shoulder, has a frozen shoulder, who can no longer move that wing. They need a little bit of assistance. Technology can be that bridge from one phase to another, even if it is temporary. But if the integrator isn't in early, they can't look to see where the things might be missing. And I'll tell you that integrator will see that the shades are missing or they're not motorized and they're way up there. And how are you going to address that? More importantly than that, though, those are the pretty things. Think about technology integration at the very base level. We talk about it as being foundational, as almost as important as the structural foundation of the home or the envelope. Technology is there, and it's got to be considered before the walls get closed, before significant investments are made in adjacent technologies, which may not be in our space. Which, by the way, technology in our space, I'm not talking about range hoods or things like that. We're talking about networking, speakers, TVs, indoor and outdoor, those kinds of things. There's many other variations of that. There's one word in there that is probably the most critical to every person in this room and every person you will talk to today, tomorrow, and next year: the network. You have to embrace getting the network right for your client. And believe it or not, the onus is on you as much as it is the technology integrator or some other provider. If the network is not built to support the needs of the home today, tomorrow, and next week, next year, there will be failures, and you're going to get the call. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but you are going to get the call because you have the emotional connection to the project and the homeowner, and there's nothing more emotional than when your internet doesn't work. Am I right? I mean, it literally, you want to murder yourself and your neighbors when your internet isn't working. We're binging here, people. This is important. But it's all, you think about your clientele and what they do for a living and how much of that is being done from home. If you have traders in your world, it was relayed to me recently that a trader said to an integrator, if my network is down for 10 minutes, that could be 100 million for me. Wow. That internet can never go down, and you don't want to take that call. Let the integrator, right, Abiola, right? You want to take that call. No, he doesn't want to take that call either, but Abiola is the one integrator in the room, so we keep calling on him. He's amazing. You want an Abiola, you want several Abiolas in your network that can work with you based on the scale and the scope of the projects you're doing. Again, the network is the most important thing, and it's freaky, right? Like, you don't want to be the network specialist. I don't either. I just want to know the guy that is, and I want to sling that call to him or her so that they can develop that relationship and develop the right solutions for that. So, at the end of the day, just think about the importance of getting that right, and then go find the integrators. And we'll talk about that hopefully before we go. If not, catch me afterwards and I'll tell you where to go.
Can I add just 2 cents to that, please? So now we've told you when to sell, like what to sell, how to upsell, right? The other part is having the kahunas to actually ask that question, I think, right? So don't be afraid of suggesting things to clients, to upsell them, to ask them to make other suggestions in their home. You're serving them by selling them, so remember that, and you're gonna get more money in your pocket by doing so. So if you have an idea that comes into your brain from something that you've learned from us or from anybody, mention it to the client. It does not harm anything, and you just need to have the balls to say, hey, I really think you should bring this Crestron system into your home or whatever, right? And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, the client will appreciate that you've actually took the initiative to bring them something that they didn't even think about.
Well, understand something. You can't stand in your space and sit there and say, I am the expert, and then not bring the expert advice and experience and expertise. Like, I'm gonna tell you what, think about the bells and whistles that can be in a basic car. I'll tell you, actually, I'm gonna tell you a good story. 100 years ago, in 1999, we built a house, okay? Used to seem a more relevant time frame, but now it's very much ancient history. But we built a house in 99. Now, it does sound like a long time ago, but it was in the modern era. And there were modern appliances and conveniences, okay? And so it was a semi-custom build. So I didn't know you guys then. I worked with you, but it was only Manhattan and $200,000 living rooms, not my lane, not how I'm gonna do it. So I'm doing it myself with the builder. So when I say semi-custom, it's like I could pick my things, but within what he was building, right? Not like, So he sends me to this place in Jersey. It's like a Ferguson, but it's not a Ferguson, to pick all the appliances, right? And there I am. Now, understand, I am the consumer. I think I've been sent to an expert. What he just said. Do not hold back. Do not I feel funny suggesting this. It's like, I am taking my entire life savings and building my one home in my one lifetime. All right? That's what not everybody's, somebody's, it's their 4th and 5th house. Yay, you if you have the 10%ers, right? But for a lot of us, we're just working with garden variety humans that have been saving their money to do a thing, right? And so we sit there with the kitchen appliance place. And she's like, what do you want? Well, I knew I wanted 2 ovens. I knew I wanted a microwave. I knew I needed a range. I needed a refrigerator like this. And when we started talking to the refrigerator, she said, do you want an ice maker? And I will never forget this. This is burned in my memory. How many years ago is 1999, okay? And I remember, I'm sitting here, Vinny's sitting there, she's sitting there. And she goes, do you want an ice maker? And I go, do you want an ice maker? And he goes, I don't know, do you want an ice maker? And I'm like, I don't need an ice maker. And he's like, no, we don't want an ice maker. And she goes like this. I will never forget it. Her face was, like a Scooby-Doo face. And I just thought, what's that face? Don't judge me. Right? And she goes, okay. Now, 8 months later, we're doing the walkthrough, the turn over the house. We walk in the back door by the laundry. The guy's like, okay, here's your hookup for the washer dryer. There's your washer dryer, great. He walks around, he walks in the kitchen, he goes, let's look at everything. He opens the refrigerator, he goes, oh, no ice maker? I'm like, wait, what? And he goes, you didn't want an ice maker? I'm like, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? I meant I didn't want to push the cup on the door to have ice, okay? I didn't really think it was 1929 and I was getting the Iceman delivering my ice. So I have a $1 million home with no ice maker in my refrigerator. Every time. And back in the day, I used to have a party once a month. Vinny's like, seriously, 40 people are coming over again? I'm like, like this. So here I am making ice in the garage refrigerator for days to fill up the and the thing that pissed me off is she knew I was being stupid. But she didn't come back as the expert and say, wait a minute, let me understand something. When you open your freezer, you don't want ice cubes in there? because that's all she had to say. But instead of worrying about being pushy or this and that, you know what I'm saying? You're the expert. I don't sell appliances. So yeah, early and often. Do you need a lot of internet? Do you want your shades to be motorized? Do you want this? Do you want, you know what I'm saying? Do you want furniture in the kitchen?
And LuAnn, isn't that a great, I think, differentiator between a salesperson and a designer?
Expert. Yes, yes. So to your point, there's no feeling bad. That's what we've called you for. I can make the mistakes in the aisle at Home Depot without you. Right?
See, oftentimes designers think that they have to just agree. But they hire us because we're the experts, and we need to tell them, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea, and this is why.
Hey, Stu Nod, you're going to want some ice.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. Yeah, right?
We're educators. It's our job to educate them on the choices. If they still choose not to do it, that's fine. But I don't want them calling me back in 6 months or a year saying, I could have had a steam oven.
Right, right. And the funny thing is you know, it's too late. Like I'm like, well, put one in. Can we just change it? He's like, well, I don't have a water line running out. Oh, yeah. Like, what? This is a no turning back. And when we sold the house, I was like, don't open the refrigerator. Just don't open it up. Yes, it was built in the modern era, but you've got to call the Iceman.
Did you ask the new prospects if they wanted to
Go
ask?
ahead, Christopher.
Because you're passing them off. So you're not necessarily. Do you have a liability for the builder that didn't build the thing right? I mean, it still is up to him. It's about establishing the relationship with the client and going on their journey with them. You know what they're looking for. You know how the home is going to evolve. So you want to be the one that's having the conversation about that 5-year-old is going to be 10 in 5 years. How is that room going to adapt and evolve to help her learn more? She's going to need more computer space. She's going to need bigger displays. She's probably going to want her own music, but don't you want to know how and what music she's listening to so it's not gangster rap at 2 o'clock in the morning? Those kinds of things. You understand the relationship that the homeowners want to have with the property. You can help
he's saying
narrate that
specifically
with
how
the
does he
integrator.
make money from
how
it?
do you make money from it?
Yeah,
right.
is it a
So,
markup? Is
right.
it not, you know?
Just like designers, there's different models, so it's really identifying with the integrator. How do they work? Everybody in the room going into the project needs to know how everyone in the room is getting paid.
Before you get in the room with the client, you work that out.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny because Wendy said yesterday, Abiel, do you need like a license, like an electrician needs a license, or you just, no, right? No. See, Wendy said yesterday, Estella, the lawyer, if your vendor trade partner does not require a license, like a plumber, like an electrician, you can bill under your thing. So 200 designers over 40 years at WindowWorks, I send the designer the invoice. They put their money on and send it to the client, right? So that's how, what Katie's talking about, be the person and have the back end guy. You know, just like you have a back end window treatment person. Like when I work with designers, I'm not standing there going, don't do that. You know, I'm like, yes, and then I come back door and I'm like, hey, sweetie, that's not gonna work, right? But we have a relationship, and I know my job as that vendor, as that trade, is to support you. And that's what you're looking for with your trade partners, the person who understands you're, you know, the kahuna, and everybody else falls in line.
Thank you, Lee. You're saying to take the integrator's product, labor, and mark it up.
That's one of the models, for sure.
What's
Yeah,
the other
that's
model?
one.
A finder's fee?
Yes. Yep,
An
there's
affiliate-
that
like
too.
an affiliate
There's a straight-
situation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a straight. Some will provide a 10% discount or 10% of the total project cost back to the designer, straight off the board. Sometimes they only do that if they're asked. So there's a scenario of you don't know what you're leaving on the table. More of my point, just to be clear on, is if you're not talking about the technology needs for the home and somebody else does, the scenario that Paula experienced could very likely repeat because the technology needs in the home are prevalent and spreading very broadly. somebody else will be talking to your client about technology, right? And to LuAnn's point, if you didn't bring it up, you know those shades could have been motorized. Well, yeah, you didn't bring it up. Well, now you kind of have egg on your face, right? Those kinds of scenarios.
Yeah, no, and I do walk through because the clients talk to me about how they want to live in it, so the integrator's with me. So I can say, did you want a sound bar? We never thought about it. You know what I mean? So I prompt the kids and everything. I just wanted to know I'm leaving money on the table. Yeah. I have a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
So that was the way to hear how you were describing it, because it's not necessarily a liability. If a drape falls down, okay, I can get, something goes wrong with the tech and it's coming back to me, I am responsible if I issued the purchase order.
True. And
that's why your
that is a valid
partner's
point.
so important.
Right, and
Doesn't
that's why the
matter.
partner.
Doesn't matter. If they're pissed at the partner, I still get sued. It's California. Then they sued, and the wire guy, and this guy. That's what I'm trying. It's that careful liability of those sue-happy people. They're not billionaires with lawyers that are on salary because they're chill. So that's what the definition of that. I do hear I could mark it up. It's something I would probably do a finder's fee, not take that liability.
Yeah, you could do a finder's fee. But when I said it's your partner, I don't mean, oh, it's your partner. I meant, like, pick the guy that you're not going to get into that problem with, right? Like, pick the guy that you know he's going to stand up and not say, no, he said, she said, right? Like, there's good partners and bad partners out there, right? Rana, you have a...
Okay. I think I'm going to summarize kind of like everything that you're talking, because at the end of the day, this whole panel is about leaving no profit, right? Or taking profit for us. And so everybody that you're talking here is saying, okay, do the full service interior design. Because if you are doing full service interior design, you are starting from construction, you're creating your project fulfillment, which I like that word. We call it coordination. We took the word management out. And then we also do a procurement fee. So we kind of do that. But going back to your integration and something, I just actually had a really amazing lunch with a reputable builder, high-end builder, and asked him his opinion, and he said, I want a working partnership with you, and I would love you to refer me as one of your preferred builders. And I said, great. And he was like, and by the way, any job that you bring us, we would happily give you a 1% referral fee for the job. And I said, you do? And he was like, absolutely, because we want it to be a win-win situation. And I said, you know, that's pretty amazing, because I had a really huge job. It was a $20 million build, and he's like, yeah, you left $200,000 on the table. And that was like mind-blowing to me, that, wow, this reputable, very well-versed contractor said, you should be. You are part of this project. You brought it to us. We're making good money from it. You should be a part of this, especially if you're handing it. And then I said, well, what about your thoughts? Because the newer concept of contractors right now, I think the old school mentality is they didn't want you to touch their product, even though we are the ones that are sourcing, specifying, building relationships with these vendors and reps, right? And then it's almost like we have to hand over our baby to the contractor and then put everything in their hands to hopefully recognize that, you know, that's a 14-week custom tile lead time, and they forget to order it. And it's like, well, we told you that, but why are we not making the profit off of the $200,000 worth of granite slabs or marble as opposed to we specified quartz? There's a huge, and then the contractor makes that. And I asked him that, and he's like, you absolutely should be purchasing everything you specify. He's like, I really don't want to do that. It's a lot of time. He's like, and it's your product that you specify. He said, and if anybody tells you that there's liability in specifying or purchasing the slab, they're full of. And I went, really? He was like, yeah. You as a designer should be purchasing, and you guys should be making money on those products, just like we make money on furniture. So everything kind of you've all said, it's aligning yourselves with preferred partners that will give you some sort of referral fee, making money on contracting of the materials, creative, project coordination, fulfillment, and procurement. So there are so many avenues that we should be making money, and I think most designers aren't looking at that as a business first and foremost. So,
just piggyback on that. When you said how who purchases what, we have a meeting in the very beginning before, and you may do the same, when we work with a general contractor or a builder, and we literally sit down with a spreadsheet, everything that's going to be specified, and then we list who is purchasing that. So there is no confusion on our part, on the on the contractor's part, on the client's part. They're not going to call me yelling at me because the flooring wasn't ordered when it was the contractor's job. And then I have everyone initial on that as well, so that we know who agreed to purchase what. And then there's never any question about, oh, that didn't get ordered, you forgot. No, you forgot. Here's the proof that you forgot.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, final. Paula, did I just cut you off?
Oh,
Did
I
you
was
want to
just
say
gonna,
something?
like, cabinetry, you guys, is huge for the profit margin depending on how you're set up, how you're building, and how you're sourcing them. So many of you, like if you're getting 10%, you think you're doing great, but I'm actually got set up as a dealer for a local regional cabinet company, and the profit, it is a different commodity in the kitchen and bath industry than anything else. Like the markup on that. Now I'm learning some similar items from furnishings too. Like I didn't mark up that Charleston Forge table as high because I was used to markups from the kitchen and bath, and then you guys are like, no, you could have doubled that. So cabinetry. It's like you deserve to make a living, and then some.
Yeah. I mean, Torona, what you said, there'd be no point for my podcast, John's podcast, these panels, if we didn't need to get that message out that you're in business to make money. Figure out how to make money. You know what I mean? It's not a hobby. It's not a part-time thing that you could do or not do, right? It's your life investment of your intellectual, capacity, your emotional capacity, the passion you bring to it. Make it work for you, right? All righty. Great job, you guys. Thank you so much.